So today we're going to get into how I started my brand, and I'm so excited because I've always wanted to get into the more in-depth story of how I created Draped. Unfortunately, Instagram only allows you like a certain amount of time, so I always have these 30-second clips.
I started Draped by I lost my job
and I'm like, no, there's so much more to this story, and I'm so glad that YouTube is going to be the platform that I get to tell this story. If you guys are not into spirituality, this is not the video for you. I listen. I would not be able to have a brand or say that I have a business called Shop Draped without God. So, period, point blank, if you're not into spirituality, this is not the video for you. Alright, so let's get into this story. So, I have to rewind this story all the way back to 2013. This was when I graduated with my bachelor's in psychology at Lincoln University. And it was a day before I was getting ready to graduate, you guys. I remember standing in my room and I was talking one-on-one to God. And I was like, God, I don't think I could see myself being a blue-collar worker for the rest of my life. Or a white-collar worker, honestly. And God was like, so what do you want to do? I'm like, I want to honestly start my own store. I want to have my own store with my own designs and my own things that are original, things that are creative, things that are different, things that are one of a kind, because all those things right there, God, that really, really, really describes who I am. And I was like, wait, I don't know how I can achieve all that stuff. I don't know how to sew. I don't know how to put together any designs. I don't know how to do any of that stuff. But I had a silent prayer that day, and I had said, God, please show me how to sew. Please show me how to create and bring my ideas to life. And so I started my own brand. My first brand that I started was called Out Mess, but in my head it was pronounced Hot Mess. Haute, Haute. And maybe some of you guys have seen my brand, a lot of you guys have not. But what I did there was I curated thrift pieces. I went thrift shopping, and I curated looks and styles for people who were very looking for a very unique look. It was cool having that brand. It was really cool curating looks and, really going on the hunt for thrift pieces. But the problem was, these pieces were not my original design. This is really not my original idea. It's like somebody else's idea. I want to put my ideas that I have in my head, and I want to put it in the physical form. I had to dive into this truth that this Out Mess wasn't exactly what I wanted or what I envisioned for my life. So I would say about 2014, this was out of the blue, you guys. I literally woke up and God told me to get up and go get a sewing machine. I was like, God, what do I need a sewing machine for, Lord? I don't know what I need a sewing machine for. Get up and go get a sewing machine. And you know what's funny? That month that I had to go get a sewing machine, I had been saving money, but I didn't know what I was saving for. God had told me to just put some money into savings, just keep saving. I'm like, what am I putting money away for? And then I just got randomly woken up. So I went to my local Joann Fabrics and I picked up my first sewing machine. I talked to the lady first of all the sewing machines in the store were on sale. They were marked down like $200. And the sales lady who was selling me on my first machine, she had told me, she's like, this is the perfect time for you to get a machine because these prices typically aren't this low. I'm like, you know what? I see you, Lord. I see what you're doing, God. So I had picked up my first machine after thoroughly talking to my sales lady. And after I bought my machine, I had signed up for my first classes. So when I went back to Joann's to start my classes, I met this pretty cool teacher. Me and her really got along well. If it wasn't for this teacher at Joann's, I'm telling you right now, I wouldn't be the person that I am today. She knew that I had a thing for fashion and a thing for unique designs, and she pulled me to the side and she was like,
I'm going to teach you everything about how to be a fashion designer really quick. She's like, I know that you're not doing this just for the hobby. You really want to learn how to do design. So I'm going to teach you a little bit, something more advanced than the rest of the class.
I said, okay, cool. She's like, oh, to my classes, I would always bring like Ankara fabric. And she was like, this fabric is so cool. She's like, if I was about 20 years younger, I'd be all over this fabric. So she would be so excited to see what kind of fabric I would bring to my classes. And she would pull me to the side to learn little tips and tricks on how to design clothing. I knew that in my heart that I wanted to start my own brand. And so if you're going to start your own brand, you need to have your own name. So I would sit down at night and I'm like, I want to come up with a name. What's the name? What's the name? I will never forget this night. I was sitting at my desk and I was going through my name and name possibilities for whatever brand I wanted to launch. So I started saying Draper, 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 draped. That's it. Draped. I love that. And after I went ahead and claimed the domain and did everything, I went ahead and I started printing labels. And so when I created clothes for myself, in the back, I would have a label that said Shop Draped. I didn't know that I was actually going to launch a brand name Shop Draped. But just in case I did, here's something to look at for the future. So at this time, I remember praying a big prayer. I asked God for freedom for my job, freedom to be able to create, freedom to be able to make money on my own terms and not have a cap on how much I'm able to make a year. Everything would be dependent on how much energy I put into whatever I do. And so there were rumors that were sparking around my job that we were all getting ready to lose our jobs. And so I was like, wait a minute, what? So there were rumors that were sparked around my job that everything was going to be demolished and it was getting ready to turn into apartment complexes, and that our jobs would be in jeopardy and that we would no longer be working there. So Spirit had told me directly, start saving your cash. So I started doing overtime and doing extra things at the job because I was directed to start saving my money and get your bag right. We had a big meeting at my job and they said, yeah, we're getting ready to move to Lower Delaware and we only have a select amount of spots left. Anybody who wants to work with a new company that's getting ready to take over their women's program where I worked, I was part of the women's program. Whoever wants to work the women's program, you guys can apply here. Everybody else, it is what it is. I loved my clients, but I just was not happy. I'm like, I just feel very unfulfilled working here. So I just saved up money and I just let the waves just hit and just I just waited to see what the aftermath was going to be. I left with the savings. And so when 2016 came, February 2016, that's when I ended up officially losing my job. The first few weeks, I was like, okay, this is so much fun. I can do whatever I want to do. But once I got into March, I was like, okay, are we just going to sit in the house and just waste our life? Like, what is the plan here? And so I started panicking and applying for jobs. And even though I wasn't called to apply for those jobs, I still did it out of fear. Out of fear of the unknown, out of fear of, I don't know what's next. And then I started to kind of delve into somewhat of a depression. I'm like, I don't have a job. I'm not making cash. I don't have anything to do. I'm just sitting at home, just twiddling my thumbs, doing anything. Needless that I know that God had a plan for me, and if I just stayed the course, I'd be okay. Okay. So once I was at home for a while, and I really wanted to get a move on really bringing what I envisioned into fruition, I started studying online. I started taking online courses on how to build up your social media brand. I started investing in myself. I studied the game. I started studying other brands. What were they doing? What were they saying? What story were they portraying? Because when it comes to social media, you have to be able to be a good storyteller. So I spent months watching other people's formula. And at that point in time, my best friend was also building her brand as well. And so I would ask her if she needed extra help doing this, doing that. And we ended up going to the natural hair, Talia Wajid's natural hair event that she does in Atlanta. We went in 2016. And if I had not gone to that event and been of help to my best friend, this opportunity wouldn't have popped up. Rochelle of Alley K Naturals had gone over to her table to introduce herself and to chat with my best friend, and she had invited both of us to a yacht party that she was having probably, I think it was like a month or two after the event. In my head, I'm like, oh, this is a perfect opportunity for me to finally launch my brand, because I finally, she was looking for brands to come on this yacht trip and sponsor her event. So I said yes, and I got my products in line and the things that I wanted to finally launch, and I got a business plan. I hired a social media manager, and I ended up launching my brand in May of 2016. So from there, things just went up over time. I've been featured in Refinery 29. I've been featured in Cosmopolitan. I've done interviews with Bloomberg. I've had some pretty major things happen in my life ever since I launched my brand. I've had celebrities reach out. I've had Eva Mendes personally shout out my brand. That was amazing. That happened in 2020. And if it wasn't for Eva Mendes, I wouldn't have been able to grow in the last few years, thanks to her. So yeah, I've had a lot of amazing things happen ever since I have launched Rate. And my biggest takeaway from launching my brand is that it all starts with the mustard seed of an idea. You might have this idea that you might think is so huge. How am I going to execute this? But if you just take the faith of a mustard seed and really trust God, ask God for the vision, ask God for the execution, ask God for the creativity of what you were supposed to do, everything will fall in line for you to get to that spot. And I hope this video can inspire somebody to go out and actually create their own brand. Go out and execute that thing that they've been sitting on for so long. I hope this story could inspire somebody. I know I say and because I'm always reaching for a thought, but I hope you guys got through this video, and I hope that this could inspire somebody to go out there and go get it, okay? I love you guys, all right? Love you, flamingos, and I'm gonna see you on the next time. Bye.